Oh, screen sharing. Okay. So now you should see the Reality Composer Pro version 2.x. That's not the latest one. The thing is, Apple started years ago with presenting, or shall I switch back to German? Who? Okay. Okay. Apple jumped on the USD train really very early, as soon as Pixar open sourced it, comparatively to NVIDIA with Omniverse. Both saw some benefits in supporting this new file standard for their own markets. NVIDIA wanted to have a great tool, a great use case for their graphics cards with Omniverse, and Apple saw an opportunity to bring 3D assets to AR. So every iPhone and iPad since iOS 12, I think, had a built-in mini game engine they call AR Quick Look, capable of presenting USD content that is stored in a zip archive. They called it USDZ. The important thing is that the zip archive is not using compression for the archive. So the binary content and textures, those use compression, but the archive itself doesn't use any extra compression. That the reason was, and it still is, that mobile devices shouldn't have also decompress the whole content and then waste memory and SSD space to handle the decompression. So normally you could place a USD asset inside your surroundings in your video camera of your iPhone or iPad, and it was very good in embedding the asset into the surrounding lighting. So it had a ground shadow simulating a light coming from above. It had real-time reflections from your surrounding. Years later, they also introduced an algorithm to guess your full surrounding, even though your camera just saw a specific part of your room. And that was very interesting. The whole AR efforts at Apple started when Apple acquired the Munich company Meta.io, and the team that was responsible in the Munich firma for programming for Apple devices, they went to America and became part of Apple. And most of the developers that were working on Android devices, they went to Google. So both AR efforts came from the same Munich company with separate teams. And years later, Apple created Reality Composer Pro, Reality Composer. It was the first attempt to not only manage those assets, but also to add extra content like 3D texts, like infographics, and then they had the impression that the market didn't catch up. Nobody was using it except me. I even had a full-blown product configurator created with this technology, but not using the Apple tool itself, but I was re-engineering its output. So I wrote my own framework to produce content that was compatible, like a cuckoo's nest. So I laid my own eggs into the basket that Apple would read from. And then years later, they introduced the version 2, that is that software that I'm presenting right now. And it's a USD-based composition tool that is following all the interesting USD concepts like variant sets, like layering, the overstatements, yeah. And those scenes were normally stored as ASCII files. So this scene is stored as a scene.usda on disk. Yeah, the second version also got the name prefix Pro for professional purposes, and also the version number 2. So it was going further, and this year Apple introduced a version 3, but it's something totally different. It still uses USD as input, but it's focusing on something different. The output is game levels, is interactive content for spatial devices. So I'm not able to create content for iPhones or iPads because those can only handle tap or drag gestures. And spatial goes much further. You can handle those old established interactions also on the spatial device, the Apple Vision Pro with Vision OS, because there you can simulate tap gestures by looking at an item that is tappable and then pinching your fingertips. That's a kind of a mouse click. That works. But the interesting thing with spatial computing is that you can use your fingers to grab stuff that is floating in front of you and manipulating it. So moving it away from its origin, rotating it interactively, and stuff like that. Also, um, drag gestures and the programming uh, decisions made over the years meant that they are using a special optimized user interface called SwiftUI, and they are now in the process of also providing a full-blown game engine um, with a special focus on spatial games. So you have stereoscopic content with your VR headset, or more in the future, those will be lighter and cheaper devices, but also based on VR with video throughput. Mhm. Yeah. So what I can do is I have USD content that I produced. These lots of assets that came from an existing pipeline. Then I used a German provider called Rapid Pipeline. Um, they are great at uh, reducing file sizes and baking um, texture atlases. So it begins with those pipes having a, a blue shader, and later everything is baked into a single um, continuous mesh with individual UV values, UV mapping, and the color is baked in to avoid too many draw calls. Um, so mhm. Let's have a look. Uh, oh, so you posted it into the chat, the community room chat. Let's have a look. Yeah, there's only one rapid pipeline. um, I then had to make some little Python scripts to convert those outputs to a more compact file formats. Apple allows to reduce texture sizes by up to 90% with using a very modern lossless texture file format called AVIF. AVIF. It's using the H265 compression algorithm, the open source, the new open source video compression standard, um, to compress stills, means textures. And it also handles high dynamic range, 16-bit, and also alpha channel. So it's a win-win-win-win. Unfortunately, NVIDIA decided to delay implementation of the AVIF codec um, indefinitely. I asked several times, and there was no answer about it. Looks like they are ignoring it. So better don't produce assets with those modern texture files if you plan to use an asset in Omniverse. Yeah. So What I do is I have a project browser. It's a subdirectory related to this project. Let's create a new scene to begin from this very start. Let's have a tube example. Now I've got a new thing. So it will have an empty scene with a single root element. Then I can add one of our primitive shapes. Let's have a cube. The cube has a dimension, real world centimeters, and it would be automatically placed with its lower bound. The bounding box of all items are calculated, and the scene would drop down to your plane of your preferred floor or table or wall, even ceiling. You can also place something at your ceiling. And the bounding box is determining this either lowest value or highest value. And then you can assign a material, either use the previous surface material, or you can also create your own shaders, your own materials. For this version, this is limited to a subset of Material X shaders, and some special ones only Apple provides. In example, there's a nice shader. Look at your background, blur it, and apply this blurred background to this shader. This is very interesting if you want to achieve frosted glass effects. Looks very realistic, but it's also very GPU demanding. Just as an example. So you can import all kinds of USD as well. An example, I have this one. So this is using a special thing. You see this text element. This is a yeah. So I cannot do this directly here, but let's have a look at. So we have this cube example. I switch over to presenting my other oh, one moment, please. Can you see my?
Not yet.
Can you see my editor screen? Okay. So this is what we just created. It was having the primitive cube, and then it loaded in a reference of this button back. And the button back looks like this. It has a material for the background, and it has a material for the text. And then it has something only Apple provides. It's called preliminary text. And that is something Apple introduced when they added this interactive content, because nobody cared about text. Everybody had to use a 3D program to create meshes that look like text. And Apple decided, oh, let's provide this service in our own game engine. So what you can do is you have this USD prim with the type of preliminary text. Preliminary means we try to introduce something new, means we Apple, and I hope others will use it as well, but nobody did. And you simply say my content is a multi-line text that can have special European characters like the U-Umlaut, the Ü, here in the word zurück. And you have a font. It's a set of pre-installed fonts that iOS devices provide. Then you can have alignment, maximum height of the whole text field, the depth in meters. So it's tenths, it's a millimeter text depth, and then you can also bind a material. And I had to do it manually by creating it with a very, very old Apple tool to have this structure. And from that, I copied it over in text form to stay able to produce texts. That is something Apple doesn't support any longer. So you can't use Reality Composer Pro version 2 or 3 to edit those, but they, as you saw, they will render it, and you can pick and move it. Yeah. So going back to this one. Yeah, let's have a look. I go back. Did you see the switch back to the text editor? So what do you see? Okay, yeah. So what I can do is I can do an over. Yeah. Let's have a look at the bottom here. So that's the root element. Then we have the prim back, and then we have the sub element label. So what I will do is over back, and then over label. and then string content move up. So when I go back to my 3D editor, let's have a look. Back, label. No, it's button back, over. Yeah, thank you very much. My bad. Yeah. See, it changed immediately. And now I can add something else. I can say I can add an Apple-specific print type. It's called components. And those components can be, let's make this button interactive. It's an input target. Let's also provide a proper collision, physics collision object for it. And then also I can say I want to have a specific behavior assigned to this. And the behavior could be something that is started at scene startup, on added to scene, on collision if it's colliding with other elements, on notification, that is something that objects can send to each other, and on tap, that's the user interaction. And then I can provide a so-called timeline. Let's save it. Go to timelines. Let's have a move up action or timeline. And here I can have unlimited so-called tracks in my timeline. And I can say something like I will move up the cube. Well, I first select the cube, and then I say transform by. Let's make it start at 0 and half a second. I will transform cube. Move cube up. And then I will say, let's add to the Y component something like 0.1. That's in centimeters, as you see here. Yeah. Let's make 10 centimeters. And you also see here, this is pre-visualizing the action. And if I play it, it moves up. Yeah. So let's make the cube a little colorful, so we can see it in front of our scene background that will be white in the simulator. Let's have it greenish. Hey, come on. Why didn't you change the color? No. Shader graph. No. Diffuse color. It should change it. What's going on here? It assigned its own material as the right binding. So I don't know what happens. But yeah, let's reload it. Yeah, it's a common technique. Yeah. So if I play it, simulating it, it should. No, it doesn't. Ah, I forgot to assign it. Remember when I said I assigned a behavior? I have to assign because at that time I didn't have the timeline. But now it has. It moves up and it moves up again and again because it's a relative move. Yeah. So that's the. So we saw three basic extensions. Apple introduced this 3D text to be created on the fly. Apple also added these interactions, and I can show you how it's implemented in the file. So the button reference, yeah, had an over to change the default text. Then it added a reality kit component. So this wouldn't work in Omniverse, only in the Apple reality kit based software packages. Yeah. Yes. Mhm. So it also has this physics body collider to support the tap area, tappable area. Then it has this so-called behavior container, and it has a single entry called on tap. It's pointing to this on tap, and that's the on tap action. It has a so-called trigger and an action. Trigger is the default tap gesture. So it knows it should react to user tap. And the action is playing timeline. And this timeline is also stored in the same USD file with a single track and a single action. And you can also have assets created in Blender or Maya and add animations or a single animation starting at frame 0, for example. And if you place this into a normal USD file and present this to AR Quick Look, it will automatically start the animation and will try to loop it. So at the end of the animation, it will start at the beginning again. So you better make a loopable animation. On the other hand, with these interactive scenes, as soon as Apple sees a behavior graph, it assumes that it's an interactive scene, and you have to actively start any animation sequences of your assets. There's also a special command to say play animation. And then you can pick from a default set, a so-called animation library. But normally, USD assets only have a single animation from first frame to last frame. But this hopefully changes with some PRs that have been made years ago to not only have time sample based keyframe animation, but also spline based animation curves and more than a single animation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's have a look. Oops. So let's. So this is an asset. Obviously, it's a office chair, and this is the user interface that Apple automatically provides if it has a root level variant set. So those variant sets, arm linen has 3 different settings. And whenever I change a variant, it reloads the whole scene because it's using a new composition. And it even has some Material X based materials. Yeah, yeah. That I use to have lots of two-color fabric variations. It's using a single base shader, a base texture. One is the horizontal thread, and the other is the vertical thread, and you can color both separately using material instances. And let's keep this Sierra Grau, and the other one also Sierra Grau. No, both have the same. Yeah, it's the same as in Omniverse. What I have to do especially is that I'm changing the bindings. So when I change the fabric, I have all the materials predefined, and then I just change the binding of this specific mesh, either for the discussion or the back part, and this is put in variant sets. And the difference is you can either have a variant set down in the structure. Those would be not picked up by this user interface. To have it here, it has to be on the root level with over to reach the internal structures. That's a little cumbersome, but you can also use your foundation model to help you with this. Yeah. Yeah. If I open that in Reality Composer, I have to go and add this asset here. Let's just drag it in. Add to scene. Move it over. And if I go here, you see here the variant sets. But it doesn't have an option to add a variant set. What I do, I would edit a USDA file, add my variant sets on the root level, and then I can start adding content, and it would try to add the content to the non-variant content, and I have to manually move it over. That's a little tricky, but I'm used to it. And this also works with the quick look, so the pre-visualization engine under Vision OS with the Apple Vision Pro headset. There you can decide to either have it floating in front of you, and then you have a menu to change the size, to change the variant sets. And there's also a new option if you preview it on a Mac, then you can let the presentation be on your headset. Then you can even place it as your environment. You can have a USD of a full house, and you can walk through the house. That's new and very promising. You can even add those assets to a website, and it will be presented as a 3D element behind your screen in your browser window. But you can grab it and place it in your room, and even make it your full environment. So I can place this chair either as an asset floating in the air, or I can place it on the floor and walk around it. It can also be a full office or a full building. That needs special settings. I can have a different camera stored in my scenes, and then I can use those camera settings to jump to specific perspectives, to viewing points. But that's very, very fresh. I still have to experiment with it. So I'm guessing that Apple will bring this winter or this fall will bring new Mac Studio hardware with very powerful uh, graphics, and the new USD kit is very promising to maybe in 2 to 3 years um, get at the level of Omniverse. And with very powerful headsets, you can even run it then on your headsets instead of having two high-end RTX graphics cards in a PC and do PC's pixel streaming on a headset, like it's currently used with Omniverse. So they have put so much effort into Vision OS, and Vision OS depends on having a video pass-through technology. So um, if Apple decides to have a glasses-like device, then it will use something else. But if Apple is providing a cheaper device, currently the Apple Vision Pro costs 4,000 euros. That's hefty, but it's a full-blown system, so you don't have to rely on a PC or a Mac to work with it. Yeah. Um, yeah. They will provide a cheaper version and also a lighter version, probably with an M7 chip starting at next year. And talking about future technologies, the current version, the beta version of Reality Composer version, the Pro version 3, as I mentioned, it's using USD for input as assets, but it's outputting a special type of files to have um, games. And it's very obvious. They even open sourced their JavaScript-based scripting language. It's called Reality Scripting, and it's available on GitHub, and it's not ready yet. And that is foreshadowing that Apple will next year bring more game content and game ready hardware for spatial computing. Yeah, but not not this year because the software is not ready yet, and Apple is happy to bring the new 2 nanometer chips to other devices. I recently watched videos from AWE. An example, Pico was presenting for their new upcoming Pico Swan project headset, and they are also using the Apple approach to have two processors. Apple has an M5 chip for general computing and 3D graphics, and it has an extra chip called R1 that is even has the same complexity or similar complexity, and is handling dozens of cameras and sensors, lidar sensor, um, eye tracking cameras, hand tracking, wide angle cameras looking down, and there have been leaks that they even look at your feet, so it can have a full 3D avatar of your full body to be presented to outside users. And they have started a special working group inside the alliance of
This
OpenUSD
is your room.
with Meta. Uh, it's a closed group. Only big companies can apply to join, and it's for avatars. So that's very interesting because Meta um, published that they are using USD, a full USD pipeline to have avatars, customizable avatars. But at the last stage, they output GLTF files, GLB files for their current graphics pipelines for real-time presentation. Oh, sorry to have blocked. Yeah, yeah, you too. Okay. Have a nice day.